Today is Wednesday, February 15th, 2012. I'm Matthew T.G.
I'm Heath Mulliken and Steve Stanley.
And I'm Tony Casey. Welcome to the Techology Show, weekly podcast featuring technology, theology, and everything in between. The world's only user-antagonistic podcast. This is episode 144.
Back to the good old days, boys. Wow.
Yeah.
Like the frontier.
Yeah.
I feel the breeze and see the tumbling tumbleweeds.
Something like that.
Yeah.
So Heath is not with us this week. He is at Fuel in Louisville, Kentucky.
Which, for those of you that don't know, is a drug rehab center.
Oh, that's cold, man. I think that he and Steven Sheets are actually traveling even as we speak, because we talked about it'd be neat to try to pull him in while he's on the road. All right,
let's. Disaster is what it would be.
Well, I'm sure that would be the case. All right, listen. As we get started here, in a moment here, I'm going to tell you how you can win some books, or Matthew's going to tell you how you can win some books. But I have a pack of books. I have 6 books here. We're going to give away.
That's a hoard. That constitutes a hoard of books.
If you know anything about auctions, we're giving them away as one lot. Just let me tell you what you got here. First,
we have your lot and raise you an Abraham.
There you go. Max Lucado's book, Don't Quit Your Day Job. Max Lucado's book, Outlive Your Life. This is the book that where he mentions Dr. Joanne Lyon and the work that she did with World Hope International. Also, the Wesleyan Church, the Wesleyan Theological Perspectives put out a series. We have a couple of those books in the series. One of those is The Church Jesus Builds, a dialogue on the church in the 21st century. And then also Passion, Power, and Purpose. And these are essays on contemporary preaching. Both of those would be included. We have a devotional, and these devotional thoughts are by Nick Harrison, taken out of the life of Wesley. So inspirational things about his life. Also, we have Keith Loy's book, Clue, God's Clues to Facing Our Fears. And then A Different Kind of Crazy by Lawrence Wilson. So we're giving away all 6 of these books as one lot. And Brother TG, what can they do to get in the drawing? We'll give these away next week, by the way.
Yeah, Facebook. Like our show on Facebook. Post there on our wall that you'd like to be entered into the drawing, and we will get you in.
Ooh.
Yes.
Teacher, when are you going to put up a Google page for the Techology Show?
You are welcome to do that. When do I have time to do all these extra things? No, it's I mean, it's great that it
you
is.
Still sleep?
Yes.
We'll sacrifice it tonight, all right? Burn the oil on it.
Yeah, I know you can do it. I've gotten started on it, but I just haven't made it happen all the way through, and I don't know when I will.
Steve, if you'll make that a matter of prayer, we'd appreciate it.
I already have. His hair should be falling out.
Okay.
All right.
Oh, no.
All right. So get in there for the giveaway for those 6 books. We'll talk about it again before the show ends. So let's jump into our stories. So the first story is one that you sent to me, Steve, most interesting, and I think a lot of people would see this as dismissive, but you aren't quite as dismissive of this story. I don't even know how to pronounce the
Ogallala Sioux.
Okay. All right. This is a tribe on the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation. They're suing for $500 million 5 international beer manufacturers, and they're saying it's for the cost of health care, social services, and child rehabilitation caused by chronic alcoholism on the reservation. Now, for those that have never been to Pine Ridge, I've had the opportunity to go twice. Steve's going to talk here in a moment. He lived in proximity. Substance abuse is 80%, 80 to 90% on the reservation. So, and it's not just alcohol. You have illegal drugs as well, but alcohol is certainly a big part of this. So, why are you not as dismissive of this?
Well, you know I'm a libertarian, so I think people ought to be able to make their own choices.
Well.
However, the Rosebud Indian Reservation has made their choice. They don't want alcohol on their reservation because of the devastation. When I was planting my first church, which was in the Rosebud area, was not on that reservation but in an adjoining reservation area. Part of the time, initially I supported myself as a cowboy, and then as a deputy sheriff, and in the winter it was nothing for us to find people dead, frozen to the ground because of alcoholism and alcohol and its effects. It has some special hold on Native Americans in that area. Now, whether this is due to sociological or spiritual or physiological reasons, I tend to think there may be a combination of reasons. But my own grandfather had strong Native American heritage, and he too was a town drunk. So I think that there's a proclivity or a tendency there for that. And if they want to vote it to be banned because they see it wreaking havoc on teens and children and elders, no one is exempt. And the way it's being marketed, it's almost pushed under the noses of people there.
Okay, so give people a sense. If you've never lived out there, you haven't seen this. What do you mean by marketed or pushed at them? Because the reservations are dry. I mean, if you go, my experience at Pine Ridge is it's a dry reservation.
I don't know how it is now. I have to refer back to 1977, 78. So that's where my experiences center. But the billboards and the advertisement and the free samples at different events,
Okay.
It was like a bad college fraternity. The way that they would try to get people started on it. And so the Rosebud Indian Reservation has taken this action because they deem this best for themselves. Well, what has the alcohol companies, what have they done but gone right across the line and set up, stores that sell cheap and enticing alcohol products, which are then taken back on the reservation, and they continue to poison that environment.
I don't know in this story. Please forgive me. We will link you to the story so you can look there and find it yourself. But the example they use is a town in Nebraska called White Clay. And so if you're on Pine Ridge, we had some people, when we traveled, we did not go through Nebraska. And so people on the work team said, hey, let's drive the 5 miles and let's go over here to Nebraska so that this way we can say, well, we're in Nebraska. So I load up the church van, and I take them to Nebraska, and we get across the line, and someone says, can we get out? Yeah, let's get out. Let's all get out. So I park the van. People are getting out. And all of a sudden, you begin to kind of wake up, and there are people who are sleeping on the street.
Yeah.
One Native American man comes up, and he's bloodied. Now, when I say bloodied, it's not fresh blood. It probably happened the night before. Mm-hmm. He's just waken up, just got up off the street, and he is trying to get money for alcohol from us. And I realized we are not in a good situation here, and so I quickly have everyone get back in the van. Well, it's White Clay. In this story, it's the very town. This is a town of population 12. And yet the alcohol that runs through this town is unbelievable. They have it down to the number of cans of beer that this little town, I mean, it's not really a town. It's just, this little spot.
Wide spot in the road.
Yeah.
Now, I have to say, I said it was 77, 78, and 79, that range when I was there, but I went back in subsequent years, was invited back to hold revival meetings, and it hadn't changed into the 80s, the late 80s at that point. So what are you going to say? As a libertarian, I believe in being able to govern my own area. And if I want to live and associate with a group of people who want to live by a certain set of rules, that should be my right. These people are having their rights violated by liquor companies that have mega millions of dollars to spend in this very lucrative population.
Yeah.
And preying on people's weaknesses.
isn't part of the issue here a moral question of, like you said, preying on or targeting? So I go back to the whole tobacco thing, and we had these lawsuits, these huge lawsuits, 15 years ago, 10, 15 years ago. And I remember being on the other side of the aisle on this issue. I mean, what I mean by that are many people that I hung around with thought that this was awful. People chose to smoke, and so don't be strapping the company. You knew what you were doing. You knew it was a health risk. And my response to that was, well, when you look at what the lawsuit was about, as I understand it, what they did is through court order, they got access to tobacco companies' internal memos and documents. And what they found out is by the tobacco company's own research, they found out that if someone does not start smoking by the time they're 18, then statistically the number is so low that it registers 0%.
Yeah.
So once someone got 18, if they didn't start smoking, something happened cognitively that said, you know what, this is not a good idea.
Yeah.
And so they knew internally we have to market the teenagers. We have to target them because if they get past 18, we're not going to get them. And so what you have here is a company, an industry that is unfairly targeting people who do not have the wherewithal to fully understand the ramifications of what this is going to cause in the end. And so it seems to me that perhaps with this issue, you kind of have this same thing, a vulnerable population. And if you can prove that they are being targeted, and they use White Clay as an example, that this town is set up, it's not a town if it's a population of 12, and yet the alcohol that runs through it. And so, companies know.
The tobacco issue for me, is one of those difficult ones because if it's just the simple choice to smoke, I believe it's wrong. I believe it's harmful. And I believe it, for a Christian especially, it puts out a poor witness. But having said that, as someone who sees the world through what has become labeled as a libertarian lens, although before I knew there were libertarians, this was my lens, I think that it's your right. If you want to do that to your body, you can do that to your body. But what you're describing is it violates two rules. First of all, it violates the authority of governance. The government made it illegal for people under the age of 21 to buy tobacco products. And they were targeting it specifically to people in that demographic, that age group. Secondly, as you very lucidly say, they don't have the judgment skills. At that age, they're more susceptible to image. This will make you look older, wiser, smarter, more with it. And peer pressure and other things factor in there. And so they're exploiting what is a known weakness. I have trouble with anybody who preys on the weakness of human beings.
Yeah, and part of, and you and I had a discussion yesterday, Steve, on the phone, but part of what we see in the minor prophets are issues of injustice, and at least in part, Israel and Judah's downfall was due in part to issues of injustice, that is targeting those that may be weak, that don't understand, and taking full advantage of that for one's own gain.
Well, let me just say this, too, before we leave this. They're suing for $500 million. That's $500 million. And from my experience there, that doesn't begin to touch the revenue that those liquor companies have hauled out of there. And it's not a pittance towards remedying the social devastation that has been wreaked by their product on that culture.
Yeah. That's interesting. We'll watch it. Moving along here, iTunes University.
Yeah.
Matthew, you've been one that's really kind of poked me on this and prodded me, saying, "Hey, there are really some great resources."
Yeah. So it's been around for a long time, but really has come to the forefront because at the last major Apple event, which was in New York City, they really pushed textbooks geared not only towards college level but K-12 level stuff too. And alongside of their textbook publishing, they've got an application for Macintoshes that lets you publish beautiful, textbooks. They also released an application that basically removed iTunes U from the mash that is iTunes and set it up as its own thing. Now, I say that, but it still is in iTunes. So iTunes U is a service that you can access no matter what you're running, unless it's Linux. So I guess I shouldn't say that. But Windows or Macintosh, if you have iTunes, you can access iTunes U. And what happens is universities will put up materials, recorded lectures, sometimes video, sometimes audio, of different courses. And so I'm going to actually switch screens now so that our viewers can see this. Here is iTunes. I have it running, and I think you'll be able to see my mouse a little bit here. But here is the front page of iTunes U. To get to this, what you do is you fire up iTunes. You head over here to the iTunes store in this left-hand column, and then across the top, you're going to see all these different things, music, movies, blah, blah, blah. But iTunes U is a tab right there. And here's the front page of all these things. So here you see we've got a Harvard class, some TED Talks. Let's see, they can organize by, most popular lectures that are on there right now, but you can get core concepts in chemistry from Duke University right here. Here's a course from Stanford on iPad and iPhone development. Let's open this chemistry one up here and just take a look here. All right. So, you can subscribe to this, and you've got here introduction, but you've also got materials that will come along with this.
From Duke University.
Yes, and so this is a full course. Now, you're not going to get credit for it, but here is a full semester of core concepts of chemistry from Duke University. Let's take a look at, there's one that all right, here's Yale. All right, so here's astronomy course from Yale. And so not only is there the introduction, but the transcript, the lecture notes from that first class. The second class, same thing, transcript, lecture notes, and the recorded thing. We could actually start to play this here, and let's see what happens. We'll, of course, YouTube will hate us forever for this, but let's see. Come on here.
Welcome back to more of Astronomy 160. The syllabus, if you haven't got it yet,
is just absolutely incredible that this is no charge. These things are free, and they're given to us. Now, we talk about it in this setting because you can access some great seminary content here. Yeah. Sadly, like a seminary that we all really love is Asbury. They don't have a lot of actual course material. Most of their stuff from iTunes U is chapels. They've got Bishop N.T. Wright series, but not much actual stuff. I would love to see them actually put courses on here. But
is
check this out.
Concordia on there yet?
I don't know.
They used to be on there.
I don't know.
Okay.
Let me look up one more, though. Like, I found this very interesting. Here's, if we type C.S. Lewis into the iTunes search. So you're going to get all these results, but now check this out. Over here in this column, you go to iTunes U, and here we have two courses, one from the RTS Seminary and one from Seattle Pacific University, just on C.S. Lewis and his writings. And so if we go to this one from RTS, here it is. You got the syllabus. You've got the biography of C.S. Lewis through 5 different courses that were taught. Then you've got his theology as it comes through his writing, and 9 different courses. Then his dealings on Revelation, social and ethical issues, a whole set of, let's see, what is this, 5 lectures on the problem of pain, which is just absolutely fantastic. Now, I mean, I don't know the lecturer, but it's Dr. Knox Chamblin. I don't know who that is, but this is actual coursework that really, I mean, is just absolutely fantastic. I think these are audio, so let's try to play one of these and we can see real quick what happens. All right, we'll skip through that.
Kingdom.
There we go.
We will have become glorified, whole and holy people.
And that's just great that you have access to that. There's basic theology, more advanced theology courses from some of these seminaries. But, I mean, beyond that, it is just a boatload of knowledge that is given. Now, if you, I want to switch back now to my camera because I want to show the application real quick. Let's see if I can. I have a hard time talking and switching cameras at the same time.
Hey,
here, guys.
that's me.
Oh, there's a galaxy. Oh, there's Steve. Okay. So here we are. And let's see. I've got.
It's a space creature.
Let's see if I can do this. If it'll show up. All right. So let's see if I can turn down the brightness.
Is that an Apple iPhone?
Oh, it sure is. Let's see if that'll show up. There it is. Oh, goodness, this is so hard to do and talk at the same time.
I have got
Here it is,
iTunes
and if we click, come on, finger,
Is that
there's
a white
iTunes
Apple
U.
iPhone?
And here is the list of coursework. So I'm going to fire up. Let's see, what do I have here? I have something from, let's take a look here. This is History of Doctrine from RTA, or no, this is from Dallas Theological Seminary, but here is the coursework from History of Doctrine. You can download this right on a Apple device. So it really is convenient if you have a iOS specific device. That's really nice. And I wish that they'd build a Mac. Oh, you're trying to do this too. All right, yours is really bright. You got to turn your brightness down.
Yeah,
but anyways. I wish they do a just like they have an application dedicated to it for the iOS. I wish that they do that to make it a little easier to dig through this stuff. It is a little bit convoluted in iTunes because iTunes is everything. There's feature film, movies, there's music, of course, there's applications, there's all kinds of stuff, and so you really got to dig to get to it in iTunes itself. But it's there, it's accessible, it's ready for you, and it's free of charge. And I mean, in this day, how can we encourage a place like Asbury to say, look at this is great? And I realize that there's going to be some who are. I mean, I can't imagine there's some administration that says, well, this is, we're giving away our stuff. What's going on here? But when we talk about continuing to keep ourselves sharp, these kinds of things are important.
This brings up a couple of things. Number one, we brought this to your attention because we love the convergence of theology, technology. This is a great example of it. But also, in the pre-show, we were talking, there are two paradigms right now that are really fighting for prominence. So one is the paradigm that we see with YouVersion of the Bible, where they give this stuff away free, and they continue to add to YouVersion, and
all kinds of tools, and
it's great. So the opposite side of this, and I don't want to be too disparaging, but there's another company we were talking about that charges you out the wazoo for Christian content.
Right. Now they have a lot. They have a lot more content. Can we say the name?
Would it be L?
No,
and end in
we
S?
we may have a sponsor one day, so we better be careful. I mean, we don't want to.
They have great. They really do have great content.
They do,
but
you're going to pay a premium for it.
And the sad thing is, if you have another Bible software package already, you probably already have some of the resources. So what it requires you to do is keep 3 or 4 different Bible packages operative on your computer.
But this is just great stuff. There's lectures on like the Gospel of Mark that just go through and dig into that. And some of them, now you got to know, some of these seminaries are going to be more
you have to do a little homework.
Right. They're going to so
who
your
is
theological vein. But let me tell you this too. It's good to challenge yourself from time to time. And so if we're Arminian, it's great to listen to what a Calvinist would say on this kind of stuff to keep ourselves sharp.
Or vice versa.
Fantastic. So it's shameful to say, well, because it's not based in Arminianism, well, it's not much value to me. Well, that's an absolute lie. It absolutely is of great value to you, and just great that they're doing it. Somebody asked in the chat room if this would work on other devices. There's not a specific application in other devices for iTunes U, but all of the things on iTunes are DRM free. And so if you download them, that's right.
Free.
That means that they can be played on any device that supports whatever it's called, a codec, whatever the video or audio is encoded in. And so usually the audio only lectures are MP3s. So say someone asked a Kindle Fire there. If you have a Kindle Fire, it plays an MP3. You could, on iTunes on your computer, download all of these things throw them into, find where your computer downloaded them to, throw them into a folder, and then get them onto your Kindle. So you can do that. It's just going to be a couple more steps in the process. It's not as easy as making it happen here, but it is possible. Same for videos. They are not encoded in any digital copy or protection. So a video is like an MP4 probably. It will play on the Kindle Fire, and you can watch this stuff and get access to it there. It's such a great tool and resource.
Great resource.
And I just applaud the seminaries and schools that are doing this. And it made me think, here I am so close to Southern Wesleyan. Maybe I need them to hire me to to work to get the process started. But they never do it. They never do it. What is money?
Well, but you have pointed out to me that while you can listen to these lectures and benefit, if you're truly trying to learn, this is the benefit. You can't get a degree without paying. So I applaud the universities that are willing, like Seattle Pacific, who puts content out there and says, here it is. And this is beneficial. I mean, when you told me about the C.S. Lewis stuff, I mean, one of the things I want to do is I want to go through all those. I mean, I would love to do that.
Yeah, I know you love C.S. Lewis. That's why when I was like, hey, you got to check out iTunes U, and here's why. Here's a biography course, 2 biography courses on C.S. Lewis. They've got Tolkien ones, just going through his writings and the theology and and everything that makes all that up.
If you guys, this is totally off topic. John Henry Cardinal Newman,
John Henry
however they
Jingleheimer
call
Schmidt.
it, however they say it. John Henry Newman, who became a cardinal, and I forget where they insert the title cardinal in the name now. If you ever run across any of his stuff on there, I'd really be interested in that. He was a fantastic writer.
You need to look for.
You just have to look it up.
So
So fire up iTunes and start looking.
Put me to work, are you?
There's all kinds.
All
of
right, so we
stuff there.
encourage you to check that out. Great resource, and we are into learning, and here's a wonderful tool to do that. All right, so this past week, I was watching the Today Show. It was a week ago today. I was watching the Today Show.
So it was the last week's show. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they talked about Rock Center, which is the host of that is Brian Williams on NBC, and they were going to be dedicating the whole hour to an interview with Mimi Alford. This is a woman who has come forward who says that as a press aide, she had an affair with President Kennedy. She has released a book now, Once Upon a Secret, My Affair with President John F. Kennedy and Its Aftermath. I recorded the interview with Mimi Alford. There are a lot of disturbing things in this, and I understand, and I don't know this word for word, but I mean, some people say that she shouldn't have released this. They don't dispute it's as truth, but Barbara Walters was one who said, there was no need for her to release all this information. In 2000, and she says the reason she did it, in 2003, she kept it a secret up to that point, and a historian, came out with a book and named her in it. And so she did confess, I did have an affair with the president, and left it at that. And so she said, this is my time to tell my story. Barbara Walters' point was, you don't need to tell this story. There was no compelling reason. Most people didn't even know, and I didn't know, that this happened in 2003. She said it was a blip on the radar screen. You didn't have to bring this out. And so, I mean, for me, that's kind of the talking point here. I mean, did she or did she not need to, unburden her soul? I mean, some say she's just making money off this thing.
Well,
And she probably is.
Yeah,
I mean, you can't. Some say that, but yeah, she is. She is. She made money
Great
for the. She made money for the Brian Williams Rock Center interview. But
Yeah, you made money for
some
NBC.
say, oh, of course,
Yeah.
yes, of course she is.
Yeah.
Well, undoubtedly, she's making money off of it. The questions that it raises, in my mind, have to do with accountability. Obviously, there's been a change in the way the press relates to the presidency.
Oh, big time. Yeah.
But my daughter and I were watching just a little bit last night of Saturday Night Live from the 80s, the first show after Ronald Reagan was elected. And I told her before it started, I said, I bet you this is about that time. Then they gave the date. And I said, they are going to tear Reagan apart. And just about every other joke was, one of the jokes was Nancy Reagan, and this truly happened. Nancy Reagan was admitted in an interview that she keeps a small handgun beside her bed there in the White House, but she says it's just a tiny one and I don't really know how to use it. And they said, reach for comment later, her husband said that he keeps nuclear missiles, but you know, they're just small ones, and he doesn't know how to use them either. So it was every other thing. Even stuff that was obviously still on Carter's watch was now being attached to Ronald Reagan. And there's obviously a bias. I think there's a bias on Fox News' part towards Republicans.
Sure.
But what really disturbs me about this story is that because of his martyr status, because of his hero status, he is being given a pass on the fact that what he did today would meet the standard of rape.
Yeah, if you read
She
her
said
account,
no, and he did it anyhow.
Right. No, she doesn't say no. No. She didn't say no. She was a virgin, and he kept saying. I mean, it happened so quick. He'd isolated her in a room, got close to her, and then she says he offered the opportunity for me to get out of this, but she said I was just kind of so overwhelmed. And
one of the reports I read, and obviously it was covered from British perspective, but at one of the episodes, not the initial episode, but there was an episode where she said no, and it was the popper, the nitro popper. And that
she
then
said no
led
to that.
That and he did it anyhow, and then that led to a sexual encounter. So what I'm suggesting to you today is this would be a crime that we're talking about, but people on the left side of the news are just outraged that she would bring this up. Why do you bring this up? But if it were a similar story on Ronald Reagan, I can promise you.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Even though the under Reagan and really it came to full fruition under George Bush.
So you think those who are saying you did not need to say anything are just kind of given a bias? Yeah. It could be. It's her story to tell. Mm-hmm. And so I'm just not sure that Barbara Walters. I'm not sure that I agree with her at that point. It happened. People don't dispute that it happened, and people aren't even shocked that it happened, given there are many historians who've talked about his exploits. So it's out there.
I think you see the same dynamic playing in that fellow from North Carolina. What was his name? John.
Yeah, from Seneca, really. John Edwards.
Edwards, yeah.
And all right.
When his wife was sick, Jackie was here recuperating from child birth, and I think you see many of the same dynamics. The left did not want to pick up the story, didn't pick up the story until well after the fact he was out of the running for the election, and what we have to ask ourselves, here's why I care about this. What we have to ask ourselves as citizens is, are we getting the truth? Or are we getting a filtered version of it? And if we're getting a filtered version of it, that's fine, as long as we're aware of it and know where to go to get the other side of the filter.
Yeah, who's controlling the filter?
Yeah,
I hear you. All right, let's move on to
Download of the Week.
Oh, man.
Did you see the graphics on that?
Whoa.
That's high dollar. I don't know if we have a budget to sustain
this is
that.
why Matthew's the highest paid member of the Techology Show.
Right.
All right. Hey, our download of the week is really something that Steve put me on to. And Steve, this is the e-reader News Today. It has all kinds of free Kindle books, and will keep you updated as to what is the latest free Kindle book out there. I mean, pretty much, right? You sign up for this, and now I'm just curious, when you signed up for it, how often did you tell it to let you know?
I want to know every day.
Okay.
So it tells me every day. And there'll be all kinds of books. Some of them you won't have any interest in at all. For instance, I have no interest in paranormal romances. Okay? I don't care if a ghost is infatuated with me or how pretty its ankles are. I'm just not interested in that
So
kind
is
of
this a real
relationship.
book, by the way?
Yeah, oh yeah, man. They're full
Paranormal.
of...
There's a whole genre of so that's like your Twilights and your all those paranormal romance stuff.
That's right.
So my question is this Stephen Sheets' secret weapon that you have
I
discovered?
don't know. I think he probably has a special treasure trove.
Oh my word! We have found.
We may have
we
found his
Stephen
secret weapon that
Sheets'
he is
secret.
unwilling to
I would
share
doubt
with
it.
the rest
I would
of the
say
world.
keep subscribed to Stephen Sheets.
We're undermining Stephen Sheets'
I'm
business.
I'm sure Stephen has richer and deeper resources than we have yet uncovered. But we are on the job.
Oh,
Well,
yes.
listen, if you want the link, we're going to have this in our show notes. Just click on the link here, and it will take you to a page. Sign up for it, and as Steve and I have said, it'll let you know every day. It'll just send you a report once a week to let you know what's going on. And if you have a Kindle device, well, again, you don't even need a Kindle device.
So many apps for your computer, for your smartphone,
Right.
everything.
Yep.
Hey, and before we move on, just one more time, just because it's so cool.
Oh yes,
There it
look,
is.
That has
behold,
been our
The
download
download of the week.
Isn't that?
I feel like it's the 4th of July
Wow.
or something.
Man, I tell you, big bucks
I'm in
over
awe.
here.
I just feel like I,
I feel
can't
like
go
I ought to
on.
remove my shoes. You know?
I'm speechless. I'm so emotionally moved at this point. Hey, let's move on to They Said It.
No sparkly graphics for you on this one. Sorry.
Read my
Oh, this is good enough.
I'm going to
We
say
need-
this again.
I've never taken steroids or HGH.
I took the initiative in
Right.
creating the internet.
The Macintosh, of all the machines I've ever seen, is the only one that meets that standard.
I'm not a crook.
If you know what you're doing here, slide out.
I have loved things about you, and I have hated things about you. And there's a lot I don't understand about you. I will not pray for you. 23-year-old Saudi journalist Hamza Kashgari in a tweet directed to the Prophet Muhammad. His comments are causing some to say that he should be executed for blasphemy. Source, Brett Bart.
There's no cost to the taxpayers of the state of Minnesota, yet it does reduce recidivism. And when offenders are not out there committing new crimes, the public is more safe. That's a very practical reason for working with IFI. David Christ, Deputy Commissioner of the Minnesota Department of Correction, weighing in on the controversial work of the Christian organization Interchange Freedom Initiative, a Christian-based program that's helping prisoners in state-funded prisons not to return once they're released. Source, Minnesota Public Radio News.
So we are very closely connected to the construction process, and we understand working conditions on a very granular level. I realize that supply chain is complex, and the issue surrounding this is complex. But our commitment is very simple. We believe that every worker has a right to a fair and safe work environment, free of discrimination, where they can earn competitive wages, and they can voice their concerns freely. Apple suppliers must live up to this to do business with Apple. Apple CEO Tim Cook responding to recent criticisms about the Foxconn factory in China where Apple products are assembled. Source, The Verge.
All right, let's jump up to this top story. This is actually one you sent me last week, Steve, about this young journalist, 23-year-old Saudi journalist who just tweeted out about Muhammad, and even in the pre-show you said that the cry is growing stronger.
I just now checking the news. It says he's been deported, and he's lost all of his possessions and everything that he had. But the good news is that this probably is the only way to save his life, and so they've gotten him out of the country, and did not say to which country he had gone.
Incredible. What struck me about this is you can't help but look at this in your own cultural context. And so if someone who had tweeted a similar tweet about Jesus, I mean, we would never have the thought that it was life-threatening.
Well, we would never. Our first reaction or last reaction wouldn't be, "You ought to kill that man."
Yeah.
You know, and be calling publicly, rioting in the streets for his death. Now, under any kind of examination, this is fanaticism. This is, if you want to elevate Prophet Muhammad or any prophet to that level, you are elevating them to a place that that even God in his heaven has not ordained. So it's, I don't know. We've talked about this so often, and
the principles
it's hard
of freedom
not to sound like you're bashing another religion, but really, this is insanity.
Well, and then also it gets to the whole issue of freedom of speech and how, you know, I guess a story like this reminds you why there is such tenacity in this country to protect that, because you can see what it can lead to in radical, you know, strains if you don't. I thought that the story coming out of Minnesota, I mean, we have seen this story before in similar situations. Right now, this group, anyone that's come through this Christian organization's whole process, their program, those who go back into prison, 40% less with this group. You go through this program, and so those are numbers you cannot ignore. And on a national scale, Chuck Colson's Prison Ministries, same thing, that those who went through that, the likelihood that they would come back was statistically lower than others who did not. Right. Now, the issue is this is a state-funded prison, and so it's controversial. And I find it interesting that you have this, you know,
which, by the way, constitutionally is not a problem. It's only in light of recent years, our parsing of the Constitution, that it's become a problem.
Yeah. Well, it puts the state in an interesting position. So do you want to argue against this group that, in a practical way, is saving the state money at the end of the day?
Well, not only that, it's not coercing religious belief from anyone. Their services are not dependent upon your subscribing to a particular theological point of view or anti-theological point of view.
Well, and you don't even have to join the group, from what I understand.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not pressured into doing it, but that's there, and it is an option for the prisoner if they want to go through that particular program.
And remember this, that if that Christian institution isn't doing it, there will be other institutions, the Muslim Brotherhood and black Muslim organizations, and just think back to our previous story, that will have an effect and an impact on our nation.
Also, too, doesn't this story kind of get at the issue of that some of these are moral issues, and if you're not addressing them at a moral level, then somehow you're just coming up short. And so here you have a program. This is built on a moral model.
It's like saying I can put a prettier bandage on it instead of taking care of whatever it is that's causing the problem.
Yeah.
And what we want to do is fix it. That should be the interest of everyone. Look, the Constitution says that we're to provide for the general welfare and the common defense. And so here we are. What could be more beneficial to our society than to get people whose lives are headed the wrong direction and who themselves may be ignorant of a better way, a more fulfilling way of life, giving them an option, not a forced choice that's no choice at all, but something that's forced on them from above. But saying, here, if you want to receive this help, here's the record, here are the statistical results. We'll work with you and walk with you.
Yeah, and if the root cause is a spiritual problem, this would be a group that would address that at that level. Right. All right. Well, I want to remind you that next week we're giving away 6 books, just whole thing. We'll mail all 6 of them to you real quick. This A Different Kind of Crazy by Lawrence Wilson, very popular book. Keith Loy's book, Clue, God's Clues for Facing Our Fears. You got Nick Harrison's devotional. These are inspirational stories from the life of Wesley. The Wesleyan Church put out a series, Wesleyan Theological Perspectives. We have a couple of those. One is essays on the art of contemporary preaching, and the other is a dialogue on the church in the 21st century. And then Max Lucado's book, Outlive Your Life. This is actually a hardback. The others are paperback. This is a good hardback. And this is the book where Dr. Joanne Lyon is mentioned for her work with World Hope International. Matthew, how can they win these books?
You can do so by leaving a post on our Facebook page. Facebook.com/The Techology Show will get you there. Like the page, put a post up there, and you'll get it. Joe's asking in the chat room, he hasn't received his. Those are being sent directly from the department, not from us. So we will contact the Spiritual Formation Department again and try to get them on the ball to get you your I Follow series, but those are coming from them. Tony does a really good job of that. The very afternoon after you've won, he always mails them out right away. So
slavishly.
Oh, it's incredible. It's incredible.
It's almost as if you couldn't tie him down.
Hey, before we get to our guests at the end, let's take our fun video now.
Whoa.
What?
There's something else that I really am hurt that's not on the agenda.
Go.
This is Brooklyn Isabel Mosley. This is the sixth grandchild
so
of the
bright
Steve and
vivid.
Kimmy Stanley, and why I'm not making much sense this week because I'm still sleep deprived and hung over in a good way, not from alcohol, but from
you have to
the
cut the
effects
brightness down on your screen for us to be able to see it there. But yes, congratulations there, Steve. Yeah, you have to. We got a mouth and a nose. I see. Okay. Oh, there we go.
Oh, look at there.
There you go.
There she is.
Congratulations.
That's her. Okay. And
yeah, congratulations.
And
to
she's
Victoria,
beautiful. She doesn't
to
look a
Michael.
thing like the Stanleys. I think she looks like the Mosley clan. So she's gonna be a beautiful child.
Yesterday on Facebook, I told Steve that he needed to contact the Stanleys and the Mosleys and let them know that other people wanted to use Facebook yesterday. All right, Steve.
I'm off of it. I don't use Facebook.
So this is kind of an old one, but it's particularly usually Marcy joins us. I love to just have great videos for her. If you are looking for special music to come to your church, to come sing for you, we have found just a great guy who would be more than willing to come and share, his heart and his talent with you. And just so you can get an idea, we're just going to play the little preview here for you.
This Dacre, yeah. Here we go, Steve. Yeah, watch this.
My name is John Dacre.
From Peoria, Illinois.
Lord is risen
First Methodist
today,
Church.
hallelujah. Sons of men and angels say, hallelujah. To your voice in triumph's high, hallelujah. Sing to your voice in when the moon hits your eye like a big pizza pie, that's amore. It's amore. Bells will ring, ting-a-ling-ling, ting-a-ling-ling, as a bell ring, more. Amore. You're in love when you know that you feel some more to me, but you see back in old Napoli, that's amore.
There we go.
So, whoever heard... Tony had me cut the beginning of this video, but I love it. The lady who's playing the piano, she goes, John Dacre is going to come sing for us, and he's going to sing a song that's really popular today. Christ the Lord is risen today, and he's going to sing Amore too. Like, why in the world would you mash up those two songs? What?
But let me say that on any given day, he sounds better than I do. So I'm going to give the man his.
Here's the thing that disturbs me. I've heard these specials in church.
John Dacre has been to our church.
Marcy says she loves the pianist too.
Oh man, she's great. You'll have to go just search YouTube for John Dacre. You can get even more of the pianist as she talks about the First United Methodist Church. We all go to the First United Methodist Church. Pastor John and we all go there. Sister blah 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 blah. We all go to, and she is quite tremendous.
It's
yes.
great, and this is where we can be thankful for YouTube because it's preserved it for us.
Oh yes, for all eternity we have John Dacre.
Talk about $500 million lawsuits. All right, let's talk about what's coming up on the Techology Show next week. We'll have Dr. Tom Arminger with us. He's the new CEO of World Hope International. On the 29th, Joan Rampey will be in studio, going to talk about her time in Haiti back in December. Also, Greg Edmonds will join us via Skype, going to just give us an update on what's going on with the hospital there. And
I'll be over to see him the next week.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and I'll be down there about a month after that.
That is cool.
I'll try to make it so that they'll still let you in the country.
Yeah.
March the 7th, we have Heather Semple with us. She is the lead pastor at Red Cedar Community Church up in Rice Lake, Wisconsin. On March the 28th, Stephanie Ryan's going to be in studio. She directs the children's ministries at FWC Alive, and that is what we'll be talking about. Also, March the 4th, Wayne Schmidt is going to be here. He's the president of Wesley Seminary out of Indiana Wesleyan University, and he's going to be discussing his book, Ministry Velocity. On April the 11th, Beth Peterson and Aaron Dowds. Aaron Dowds is going to be joining us via Skype. Beth will be in studio. Aaron will be joining us from Scotland. I believe that's right. So that's going to be interesting.
Yeah, from an organization called, is it Lemonade, his organization, or is this somebody else? The hospital is Lemonade. And they're
No, this is with the orphanage. That doesn't
I didn't know
sound...
if it was the same guy, because there is a Scottish group that's actually giving the Wesleyan Church the money to rebuild the hospital down there. I could be. I don't know.
Yeah,
don't quote me on that.
we'll find out. April the 25th, Mark Wilson will be with us to discuss his book, Filled Up, Poured Out. And he sent me an update. Now they're talking about a March 15th release for his book. Wesleyan Publishing House will be sending that to us so that we can get a good look at it. But really looking forward to our time with Mark. Mark's been on the show 2 or 3 other times. And great guy, great guest. Alrighty. Hey, Steve, where can our listeners find you on the internet, the World Wide Web?
Oh, the World Wide Web. Well, I really don't have much of a presence there, although I am a smudge on Google+. You can find me there under my email, Pastor S.E.S., Sweet Enough Steve.
Love that.
Pastor SES at gmail.com.
So I've got you up there so that you can
look
see
at that.
there.
Look
Look
at
at that.
that.
Pastor SES.
Oh,
Check that
man.
out. Wow.
All right.
High dollar here. High dollar.
Brother TG.
Yes. Watch this.
Okay. Oh,
right there.
Oh.
Okay. Nothing more.
Look at
needs
now
to be
people
said.
are going to know how to smell.
How to spell
We got
my name.
smell-o-vision.
We're gonna
Can I
smell his
scratch
name,
that
man.
Man.
Scratch your sniff.
And check this out. Hey.
What?
Whoa.
What is that?
Hey, can we see what Heath's would
that's
look
a
like
forward
just
slash, by the way, guys. Facebook.com
That's right.
forward
Forward
slash AKC64.
No problem.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm pretty
How come
smart
yours
on
says
stuff like that.
defaced book?
And then you can find Heath. He is in, where is he? Somewhere in Kentucky, right? Or something like that.
Headed to Louisville.
Yeah,
so
Louisville. So if you're in the Louisville area, just go walk around. I'm sure you'll find him on.
We guarantee you a meal on him. So
Yes,
find him, tell
yes.
him that he is to buy you
and not
a meal.
just like McDonald's. We're talking about like Outback or
Roost Chris Steakhouse. I mean, why? Yeah,
Yes,
I mean,
something
top
like
of the
that.
line stuff. Yeah,
He's good for it.
He'd be glad to do that for you in the name of the Techology
Yes.
Show.
And for a slight fee.
Yeah.
No,
Free,
out of
man.
his own pocket.
Yeah, because he's rich that
He's
way.
just that kind of guy.
Yeah, I mean, his dad's a big cattle farmer. So.
Really?
Oh,
no
yeah.
bull?
All right. Listen, if you want to do further research on anything we discussed today, you can find all the links to the stories we covered at our website. Guess what that is, Steve?
Oh, let me think.
TheTechnologyShow.com. You're very good.
And
if you want to contact us,
yes,
just send your emails.
to
thetechologyshow@gmail.com. It's that simple.
So simple. So
It is.
I'm going to get a nosebleed.
What if you want to leave us a voicemail? What do you think, Steve? What do you think?
We've got a number.
We do.
And it kind of actually spells something, too.
Vanna White, come right on in here and show us the number.
There you go.
It's
right there.
3049 Theology.
3049 Theology.
If you need help, that's 304-986-5649. Leave us a message.
If the apostles had this in their day,
listen, we'll
done.
play your message on the air, guys.
We'll
you
do
leave it. Your voice could be broadcast
you can
to
ridicule
all of our
and vilify
viewers.
Tony.
You can be on the
Matt,
World Wide Web. We'll put you on the
Heath,
YouTube.
and we'll play your message. Now, if you say anything bad about dear
you can
old
talk
Steve,
about how happy
sweet
you
enough
are to
Steve.
have learned about iTunes U or anything like that. We love praises and accolades of all kinds.
And do remember our book giveaway, and also we do have the link if you want to get free Kindle books. Register for that.
No whining about Heath being away. We will not tolerate this. Not a generation of whiners. We have a $5 fine for whining.
We are really stretching to fill up this hour. Okay.
Goodbye, everybody.
Adios.
Hasta amore.
Hey, to play us out one more time, ladies and gentlemen,
Sayonara.
John Dacre.
John Dacre. There he is.
Bonami.
My name is John Dacre. Lord is risen today. Hallelujah. Sons of men and angels say hallelujah. Your voice in triumph high. Hallelujah. Voice in when the moon hits your eye like a big pizza pie, that's amore. Bells will ring, ting-a-ling-ling, ting-a-ling-ling, as a bell ring, more. You're in love. When you know that you feel some more to me, but you see back in old Napoli, that's amore.